Ethan Cross had everything a man could ever want: power, wealth, and a name that made people stop and whisper. But those very whispers had become chains. Every woman he met seemed to see only dollar signs, not the man behind them. He was tired of hollow smiles and shallow promises. That's when he met Lena. It was a rainy evening at a small corner cafe. Ethan had stopped in, dressed casually to blend in. Lena worked behind the counter, her apron stained with coffee and her hair tied in a messy bun. Yet, despite her exhaustion, she carried herself with quiet dignity. She was juggling trays, managing 2 impatient customers, and still found time to crouch down and hand a free cookie to a little boy crying near the window. Ethan noticed. Later, he struck up a conversation. She told him about her 2 kids, how she worked double shifts just to pay rent, how she dreamed of one day going back to school. Her honesty disarmed him. She wasn't trying to impress, she was just surviving. That night, Ethan decided to test her heart. If she could accept him with nothing, then she was different from anyone else he'd ever known. The next day, wearing faded jeans, an old hoodie, and scuffed sneakers, he walked to Lena's small apartment building. The hallway smelled faintly of dust and old paint, the walls peeling, the air heavy with silence. He hesitated at her door before finally knocking. Lena opened it, surprised. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" He shifted uncomfortably, playing his role. I don't really have anywhere to go right now. Things fell apart. Could I stay here for a while? Just until I figure things out." Her brows furrowed. She had known him only for a week. He could be lying, he could be trouble, but instead of suspicion, compassion filled her gaze. "My home isn't much," she said gently, stepping aside, "but if you need a roof, you're welcome here." The apartment was tiny. 2 small bedrooms, a cramped living room, and a kitchen where the fridge hummed louder than it should. Ethan noticed there was barely enough food for her children, yet she pulled out bowls and offered him some soup as if he were family. That night, he saw everything. He saw Lena pour the last glass of milk into her children's cups while pretending she wasn't hungry. He saw her tuck them in with soft kisses and worn storybooks, her voice filled with warmth. And when she thought no one was watching, he saw her sit at the kitchen table, rubbing her temples, staring at unpaid bills, but never letting her children know the weight she carried. Ethan felt something stir in his chest. A different kind of wealth sat at that table, a wealth of love, resilience, and sacrifice. The next morning, he tried to help by fixing her broken heater, fumbling with tools. Lena placed her hand lightly over his. "Don't worry about that," she whispered with a tired smile. "We'll manage. Money doesn't make a family, love does." Her words hit him hard a week past, and Ethan had slipped into Lena's world as if he had always belonged. Gone were the chauffeurs and luxury cars, the boardrooms and tailored suits. Instead, his days were filled with grocery runs on foot, washing dishes in the cramped sink, and helping Lena's children with their homework on the worn carpet. He saw her struggles up close. How she stayed awake long after the kids slept, stitching old clothes to make them last longer. How she skipped meals just to make sure her children had enough. How she smiled through the exhaustion, never once complaining. Not once did she ask him for money, for favors, or even for promises. She accepted him as he was, a man with nothing. But one night, everything changed. Lena's youngest, Maya, woke up burning with fever. The little girl whimpered, her small body trembling as Lena pressed a cool cloth against her forehead. Panic flickered in her tired eyes. "We have to take her to the hospital," Ethan said firmly. I don't know if I can afford it," Lena whispered, clutching Maya close. Her voice cracked as tears welled up. "The last time we went, it nearly drained everything I had. If they ask for more..." Ethan didn't let her finish. "Then I'll handle it, let's go." At the hospital, Lena rushed to the receptionist, fumbling with a handful of crumpled bills. "Please," she begged, "my daughter needs help. This is all I have." The receptionist frowned sympathetically but shook her head. "I'm sorry, ma'am, it's not enough for the admission deposit." Lena's face crumbled. She pulled Maya closer, whispering, "It's going to be okay, baby. Mommy's here." Her tears fell onto the child's hair as desperation filled the room. That was the moment Ethan couldn't stay silent any longer. His hand slipped into his pocket, pulling out the sleek black card he had sworn not to use. He laid it on the counter with quiet authority. "Put everything on this," he said. The receptionist's eyes widened as she read the name embossed in gold letters, Ethan Cross. She glanced at him in disbelief. "Sir, you're—" "Yes," he interrupted, his voice steady. "Now please, treat her immediately." Lena turned to him slowly, her face pale. "Ethan, you're him. The billionaire." For a moment, he couldn't meet her eyes. "I didn't want you to know. I didn't want money to be the reason you cared for me. I had to see if your kindness was real." Her hands trembled as she clutched her daughter. "And what did you find?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Ethan finally looked at her, his eyes softening. "I found the most selfless, genuine woman I've ever met. You gave me food when you had none. You gave me shelter when you barely had space. You gave me love without asking for a single thing in return. Lena, you showed me what money can't buy." Tears streamed down her cheeks as the doctors rushed Maya into treatment. Ethan reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "You don't have to do this alone anymore. From today forward, you and your children will never have to worry again. Not about bills, not about food, not about a roof. I'll take care of everything." Lena stared at him, torn between disbelief and hope. "Why me, Ethan? You could have anyone in the world. Why a single mom with nothing?" His answer was simple, whispered with sincerity. "Because you already gave me everything that matters." And as the sound of her daughter's breathing steadied in the hospital room, Lena realized that the man who had walked into her life disguised as poor had given her something far greater than wealth. He had given her a future. Than any business deal ever had. Ethan, the billionaire no one ever said no to, sat there in silence, realizing for the first time that he was the one being saved.